at 52 Chauncey Street in Boston, and I was crossing the street to go back to Jordan Marsh where I worked, and there was a car parked on Chauncey Street, and there at least were a dozen plus people surrounding the car. And I went over to the car, and on the radio is when I heard the news that Kennedy had been assassinated. I can't remember whether at that point they knew he was deceased or not. The general reaction was shock, and because it happened in Dallas, which at the time was a hotbed of ultra-right movement, there was a concern that it was some sort of a organized assassination. Frankly, most of them have been pretty much debunked, and it fortunately turned out that it was not really a domestic situation, because my memory is that the assassin had been in Cuba prior to the assassination, and so it was not a domestic insurgency.
I was in Florida on my way to Jamaica. And when the flight landed in Jamaica, they met the plane and announced that President Kennedy was deceased. We knew before we left Miami that he had been shot. And by the time we got they just hadn't announced that he was dead. Shock that it could happen here. It was awful. My mother was with me. She was just beside herself. It was just a short flight, and so everybody was talking about it. It, of course, was so shocking to everybody that it was just awful.
Do you think about the conspiracy theories still?
Not really. No. I'd like to not think about that. Too much has passed. It's been a long time. He wasn't one of my favorite people, like everybody in Massachusetts loves him to death, but he was a good president. It was such an impact on everybody that I haven't really thought about what it would have been if he hadn't been shot. I mean, who knows? You're not... It's a good thing we don't know, because times back then were simpler. Right now, everything seems to be in such turmoil. You know, the Boston Marathon, we have odd times. It's not happy times.
I was in Simmons College. I believe I was a sophomore at college, and I was in what we called the smoker, the recreation room in the dorm when I heard it. And I also vividly remember seeing Ruby shoot and kill Lee Harvey Oswald. That was very shocking. I was just walking by TV and saw that, and most of us who could go home went home, and I went home to my home in Duxbury and vividly remember watching the funeral. The other memory, the reason I've never forgotten the date that we lost Kennedy, is it was one of my son's birthday. He was born on that day, so I think of him every year my son has a birthday.